Let's do it. This is Funny Like a Clown podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Wirth, episode 138, February. I'm still coughing. That's the way to start a podcast. February 15th, 2022. Yeah, I've had a little cough lately, but not good for a podcast. But hey, I'm going to keep going because that's what I do. But that's the good thing about a podcast. You can cough on a podcast because freaking people cough. That's what happens. Okay, not like radio where you got cough button or in TV with a take two. This is real life, baby. Real life people cough. All right. As always, today's episode is brought to you by G Vegas Buffalo Sauce. Go to www.gvegas.webs.com and check it out. I recently had somebody tell me the link wasn't there working, and they checked it out and it says the link is working. So if you're trying to purchase buffalo sauce and you can't get any, hey, write into the show and let us know, man, because that's our sponsor, and we want to make sure they sell some buffalo sauce because it's good stuff. Now, we are going to be discussing, and we got a lot to talk about today, man, about this guy, because we're exploring the history of comedy, and we've been doing like some, older comics. Well, this guy is a guy who's doing comedy during our time, Mr. Joe Rogan, and it's cool to talk about stuff you didn't know about. It's also cool to talk about stuff you can relate to, and I can relate to a lot of the stuff the guy's doing. And wouldn't we all like to be Joe Rogan, where everything you touch just turns to fucking gold? It's like, people will be lucky to get like one thing that Joe's done. Like everything this guy touches, almost just second he touches, it turns into a big hit. They say right place, right time is the thing to be. Well, this guy's just constantly in the right place at the right time. And everything he touches just turns into something big. I wish we could all be so lucky as Joe. But hey, guy worked hard. He deserves it, right, man? Talking about working hard, man, I've been promoting for freaking ever that my movie's going to be on Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime can kiss my entire ass because, they put out this big thing. Amazon Prime welcomes independent filmmakers. We like to help them out. We like to help them get started. I put my freaking movie on Amazon Prime. I get a letter back. Amazon Prime reserves the right to refuse any artist for any reason. It was declined. You can't appeal, and you can't resubmit. Didn't give me no reason, no nothing. Looking into it, I guess they're looking for family-oriented stuff, which my movie isn't bad, but it's definitely not family-oriented either. So there's worse stuff going on freaking Amazon Prime. So don't be telling independent filmmakers you're going to help them out and then shit all over them, because I don't dig that. Okay, so Amazon Prime, kiss my ass. Anyway, a guy who don't have to kiss my ass because I actually respect this guy. I think he's a cool dude. Joe Rogan, best known for his podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience, which was one of my influences for starting this comedy podcast because man, just to see what he did. I remember, they said Joe hits more people worldwide than like the Tonight Show even has access to, because the Tonight Show has access to so many TVs, but not everybody's watching at the same time. So if you had half the people who have TVs are watching the Tonight Show, you're doing good. Okay, well, Joe's got more people tuning in than every single person who owns a TV was watching the Tonight Show. Joe still has more people than that worldwide on his podcast, so he don't have to hope people, half the audience is tuning in. They are tuning in. Also known for his being a color commentator for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, which he got involved with martial arts at a young age. Let's see, born in Newark, New Jersey. Started comedy in Boston in 1988, moved to LA in 1994. Signed a deal with Disney, a developmental deal. He appeared in TV's Hardball, then probably his best known first role was on News Radio, the sitcom where we all got introduced to Joe Rogan, played the dumb-witted conspiracy theorist, which who knew he was in real life too, right? But not dumb-witted, but a conspiracy theorist. Let's see, Waystone Comedy Special, I'm Gonna Be Dead Someday. We're all gonna be dead someday, so leave behind your legacy where you can. That was in 2000 that he did that. Look at me, I'm coughing now, I'm eating, I'm doing everything on a podcast here. In a second, I'm going to take a drink too. Fuck her. This is stuff humans do. Let's see, 2001, 2006. Of course, remember him. He hosted the game show Fear Factor, which was some groundbreaking TV for the time, especially for like FCC controlled TV, 2009, he launched his own podcast, which, we all know him by now. By 2015, it was one of the most popular in the world. So 7 years it took him to be one of the most popular in the world. That's not bad. I've only been at Funny Like Clown podcast for, I don't know. Yeah, it could be longer now. 2-3 years maybe. I don't know what it is. But hey, man, I'm hitting a lot of people and I'm having fun doing it. And hope you guys are having fun with me. And who knows? Maybe someday we get to the point of Joe Rogan status. Because I have on a lot of cool guests, there's a lot more cool guests I'd like to have on, but I got to get them to come on. I had some cool guests scheduled, and people are getting sick on me and backing out. And, hey, you make the best, right? So as we mentioned, Joe Rogan. I mean, I'm getting thousands of views. Joe Rogan, he's getting millions of views. So good for Joe per episode. In 2020, Spotify gained exclusive rights to distribute his podcast for $100 million. So, hey, Joe, I love you, but kiss my ass. I'm busy selling buffalo sauce. Well, this guy's getting $100 million. Just do what he loves to do. Could we all be so lucky? Probably not. But let's see. 2022. His podcast kind of had some controversy. He started hosting physicians, and he was accused of giving misinformation about COVID-19, which, I think Bill Burr said it best. When I get sick, I listen to a doctor. If I want to laugh, I listen to a comedian. So you probably shouldn't be taking advice from a comedian about COVID-19, but he was having on legitimate doctors. But you get on Joe's podcast, and he gets talking, and he gets you thinking the way and saying, you get caught up. Same on the Howard Stern show. A lot of people regret some of the stuff they said on there, but that's how you get them loosened up. You get them talking about stuff they probably don't want to talk about. But let's see. His parents separated when he was young. He moved around from California to Florida, finally settling in Massachusetts. He graduated in Mass in 1985. Let's see. He started in martial arts. He said he had a fear of being a loser when he grew up, which I can relate to because my father was like a big bum, and I swore I'd never grow up and be a bum like him. And that was like one of the reasons that I just got into comedy, because I wanted to make something out of myself rather than be a bum like my father. So I could see fear in being a loser. And I remember other kids, what do you want to be? You want to be a doctor? You want to be a lawyer? I just want to be normal when I grow up because my father was so messed up. So I can definitely relate to Joe on that one. Said he never intended to be a comedian, but he was inspired by Richard Pryor's Live on the Sunset Strip. He said watching that really affected him. He said nothing made me laugh like that did. And I can relate to that too, because when I watched Sam Kinison's special, I was just dying laughing so hard. I said, I got to make somebody laugh as hard as this guy made me laugh. So I guess his friends, there we go with the cough. His friends convinced him to try stand-up comedy after making them laugh with a bunch of jokes and impressions that he did, when you're hanging out with your friends. And I guess we can all relate to that too. You hear your comedy album, the next thing you know, you're throwing quotes from the album with your friend as you're growing up. Back when you had comedy albums, but even a comedy special, I remember. You're constantly throwing quotes. If you get a good quote in your head, you use it at the next day at work all day. So it was it Kevin Hart. I remember I watched his special, and I'm all week at work. I'm like, all right. I just stuck in my head. I was saying it at work all week. So that's the thing you hope for as a comedian. Something you do sticks in somebody's head. Let's see. After 6 months of practicing, he performed his first gig in 1988 at Stitches in Boston at their open mic. His blue comedy style, which means working dirty, which, we've talked about it many times. If you work dirty, you have a lot of fun. If you work clean, you always work. Working dirty, it's the big payday. But Joe actually turned working blue into a good big payday. Got a lot of work at strip clubs and bachelor parties, which, everybody thinks the comedy club's the only way you can do comedy. There's a lot of private parties out there, man. You can make some money at those. It's a good gig. I remember one of the big club owners around here, he said he opened up his own comedy club, and he really wasn't making much money. He was about breaking even on the comedy club. But he said when somebody came in the door and they wanted to hire comedians for their party, that's where he made his money. That was the storefront, was running the comedy club. So broke even on the comedy club, but that was where he made his money, was all the private parties. So remember that if you get started out in comedy. And hey, who wouldn't want to play a strip club, right? I mean, I remember, I went up to Cooch Comedy Club up in Alaska. I opened up for a legendary comedian, Carl LeBeau, who was Sam Kinison's opening act. The guy who inspired me. And Yeah, it was some kind of spring break or whatever the heck it was up there, and they were having this body painting contest. Or the comics, so we show up early. We're in the green room. There's all these friggin' hard body women. They're in there just buck naked, getting painted up with body paint, getting ready for the contest. We're just sitting there sipping beers, watching all these naked women getting painted up. And we, hey, this is what comedy's all about, you know. Then the week got over. I had to come home, go back to my regular job. I was like, no, I don't want to leave. I want to stay. But hey, you don't get gigs like that all the time, but when you do, they're fun. Let's see. After impressing another Boston club owner, the club owner offered to become his manager. Joe accepted the offer. He had to move to New York City, where he became a full-time paid comic. Would you give me a full-time paid comic? You don't have to job. I mean, I don't have to work during the day, then do comedy at night. Ooh, a paid comic. Wow, this is big stuff. Okay. So apparently he impressed this guy enough. Let's see. Joe Rogan credits Richard Jennings, Lenny Bruce, Sam Kinison, and Bill Hicks as his influences for wanting to do comedy. 1994, after being on the paid scene in New York, he relocated to L.A., where he landed his first national TV spot on MTV's Comedy Half Hour. Remember MTV? They offered him like his own gig. It was like $500 or something. He actually turned them down. But once he got that offer, then I guess his agent submitted his tape around town and became a bidding war because MTV wanted him. We better get. He's a hot guy, hot comic. He eventually accepted a deal with Disney, which hey, top company Disney, man, and they're putting out all the major stuff. You can't go wrong. You're saying with Disney. MTV's cool, but they're not Disney, baby. Oh no, there's only one Disney. That's where the best of the best end up right there. So if you're starting with Disney, you really can't go wrong. At the same time, he started performing at the legendary Comedy Store in LA, which all the major comedians started. It's such the Godfather place of comedy. Mitzi Shore made him a paid regular, which if you catch Mitzi's eye, that's not a bad thing because she's connected to all the major stuff out there. Let's see. Landed on a Fox sitcom called Hardball, which I never heard of it. I mean, I was before news radio, but guess he played a baseball player or something. I got his foot in the door. Then came his role in 1995 to 99, starring in news radio, which I didn't know. Originally, Ray Romano was supposed to get that role. Believe that? A young Ray Romano was going to get it, and Joe Rogan beat him out for the role. So after that, he started as a commentator for the UFC, which he originally, as much as he was into martial arts, as a kid, he did a lot. He originally turned it down. He said he didn't want to do it. Then I guess the owner of UFC's wife, like he said, here, we'll give you some free tickets. We'll give you some good tickets if you just want to, commentate this for us. So he did it for free a few times, and I guess he enjoyed doing it. Started accepting paid gigs to be the commentator, and it turned into a big thing for him. He released, as you mentioned, a comedy album back when you could do this thing. I'm Gonna Be Dead Someday. He was on the Howard Stern show to promote it, and as we said back then, you could make $10 on a comedy album, and you charge $10 for a live show. You're making $20. Nowadays, you got to give a free comedy album. You got to charge $20 a live show because all the free downloading out there, you can't put out anything on the internet anymore. But it actually worked out for Joe because the exposure of his album on the Howard Stern show got him like huge Napster hits. Now, Napster was the one where you could download music for free. This was before the government shut them down for illegal whatever, music artists weren't getting paid. They fought back and shut the site down. But before it got shut down, he got so many downloads on this. I mean, yeah, they got it for free, but so many people got exposed to Joe Rogan. It was a genius promotional piece that he never even planned on, where he gained an audience following for giving something away for free, which he probably wouldn't have got half of that had he charged for it, So when you can get something for free, it's not a bad thing. So hey, that happened to me. I put out my own comedy DV and comedy CD. I was ready to sell them at shows. Then all of a sudden, this damn pandemic hit. So now I got like 1,000 DVDs and CDs and nowhere to sell them because I'm not doing live comedy shows. So finally, when I did the premiere of my movie, I had a local show in the theater. I gave them away for free to everybody who showed up as a thank you for showing up to the movie. So I got them out there. Yeah, I didn't make the money I was planning on making at comedy shows, but you got to adjust for the time. So you know what? They're out there. Hopefully people are making copies. You can make a free copy. Get Dennis Wirth's work out there. That's what I'm planning on. So he was going to get his own Fox sitcom, little did we know, called The Joe Rogan Show or something like that on Fox, but they put that on hold because they wanted him to host a new show called Fear Factor. And as I said, another thing, this guy touches it, it just turns to freaking gold. Fear Factor went on to be like this big cult following, one of the biggest shows on TV at the time. Everybody was watching, everybody was talking about it. And Joe's the host. He's a lucky Joe. Okay, so originally I think it was going to be aired. It was like too controversial or whatever, but they got it on. They got it, man. You get something controversial on, people start talking about it. That's for damn sure. Let's see. Been on one episode of Just Shoot Me. Here's one I do remember from because I was a big fan of this show. He was the new host of Comedy Central's The Man Show, following Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Kimball. When Jimmy went off to do major network TV there, had his own talk show, late night show. But before that, he was doing Crank Anchors and The Man Show. And The Man Show was such a good show, but it was following such like, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla, they had this chemistry where they were the perfect hosts. Nobody else could do what they did. And it was kind of like, I remember when Friends got over, such a legendary TV series. Joey had a spinoff of Friends, but everybody tuned in expecting Friends. And even though it was a great show, it wasn't Friends. It didn't work. And I think Joe and Doug Stanhope, he was the other host that replaced Jimmy Kimmel. Although they did a great job, it wasn't Adam and Jimmy, man. It just you couldn't follow the two guys on such a legendary show. And what a great show it was. I wish I would have lived on, but so hey, not everything he touched turned to gold, but he had a few flops. But most of the stuff he turned into pretty good stuff. Let's see. Showtime in 2007 got his second special out live in Phoenix. Here's a funny one. 2005, Wesley Snipes actually challenged Joe Rogan to a fight. And I guess Joe trained for it for 6 months. He was really getting ready to kick Wesley Snipes' ass. And I guess the only reason Wesley did it was he got the IRS like busted him for something, and he needed some quick money like that to get out of the IRS jam. So figured he, challenge Joe to a one-night pay-per-view thing and make some quick. But he saw how hard Joe was training, didn't want to get his ass kicked. Probably ended up backing out of the fight. So he may be broke, but he wasn't stupid. And let's see. Here's another 2005. He accused Carlos Mencia of joke thievery and actually confronted him on stage at the Comedy Store, which did get recorded and it hit YouTube and it blew up on YouTube. Carlos and Joe going back about whether he was a joke thief or not. Ended up Joe lost his agent because the same agent represented Mencia, and these two in a big argument. You can't choose both to stick by, so he chose to stick by Carlos. So Joe's out of agent, got banned from the Comedy Store for a while. They were pissed off with the bad publicity, caused them to relocate over the Improv, which is another great comedy club out there. Let's see, 2007, Comedy Central released another special called Shiny Happy Jihad. Then in 2010, again, accused Dane Cook of being joke thief. So I don't know if this guy's cleaning up comedy or what he's trying to do here, but yeah, it is kind of a scumbag thing. I mean, if you work out like a really, really good joke, it should be yours if you think of it. And yeah, you can hit the same premise. I mean, that's been done, and people do think alike. It happens. But if you're just blatantly stealing somebody else's routine line for line, it's been happening since the beginning of time in comedy. It's always going to happen, and it's always going to be a scumbag thing to do. So all depends on how you look at that one. Let's see. But I remember there was a kid locally, and man, he accused this comic of doing something which I believe he ran an open mic here locally in Massachusetts, and supposedly he was telling one of the girls there, oh, she had nice legs, and he got accused of going to touch her legs, and she said no. And this turned into a big thing on Facebook. It freaking blew up and shut down this guy's open mic. He quit comedy, he went into hiding, and it was just like destroying somebody's life over that. Is it hearsay? It was one person's word against another. I don't know. Who do you believe? But I mean, to start, one guy, you can't clean up comedy and just be accusing everybody everything. So yeah, it's a good thing. You don't want juke thievery, but you don't want to turn into the tattletale of comedy either. So I guess there's a fine line there that you got to ride. Let's see. He hosted. I didn't know about this one on CBS, a short-lived game show called In My Head, which I never even heard of it, so it couldn't have lasted long. But I guess that was one of the flops that he had.
2011 Fear Factor India made a comeback, and he said that he did it. And the only reason he did it, he could have did bigger things, but he was so associated with that role. He said he didn't want to see somebody else do the role that he developed. So he just did it. Didn't I think it only lasted a year on the comeback. It wasn't as popular as it originally was. 2011 on his first major film, Zookeeper, and 2012 he was in Here Comes the Boom. I believe that was with Kevin James. I think that he did that. 2012, live from the Turbinacle, was another special that he did, and I guess Louis C.K. originally did this, and he followed suit. And I think Jim Gaffigan actually did this too, where instead of putting out a DVD of your special, where it costs you got to pay for the little paper insert to the DVD, you got to pay for the DVD cases, you got to keep the DVD, it gets burned on. So you're charging $10, but you probably got $5 in costs, and you're making $5 a DVD. Well, these guys, they decided they're going to go to their website and give you a $5 download. So they're cutting out the cost that it costs to make the DVD, letting you download it because of today's technology. You can download it right on your computer. You don't get no paperwork. You don't get nothing. You just get to watch it, but it's only costing you $5. So, he's making the whole $5, and he's cutting out the industry. He's self-distributing where you don't have to pay somebody to distribute it for you, which that's where we're leaning to, where, hey, everybody's got a computer, man. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's on it, man. It's free, and everybody's getting in on the free stuff, and we're cutting out Hollywood, and they're really not digging it because they're not making the money they used to. Because you can be an internet star now, and if you're an internet star, damn it, you got nobody's. What are you getting fired from? Okay, nobody in Hollywood's going to fire from your sitcom or your show. You're your own boss if you're on the internet, man. So that's a venue that's open to young comics. Don't let it go to waste. Which the old comics, they were at the mercy of Hollywood. You're not at the mercy of Hollywood anymore. You can make it happen yourself. Which I'm trying to make it happen with my movie, and I do have another platform I'm trying to get it on, but I'm not going to advertise that platform until I'm sure they accept the damn thing. Unlike Amazon Prime, they can kiss my entire ass. Let's see. 2013, I didn't know this one either. He hosted a Sci-Fi Channel show called Joe Rogan Questions Everything. Only lasted 6 episodes, but I guess it was kind of like his podcast where he was this, conspiracy theorist talking about Bigfoot and UFOs, which is kind of what he does on his podcast, but didn't catch on there, but the podcast did. 2009, as we mentioned, he launched the Joe Rogan Experience. You could say the rest is history, man. By 2015, it was downloaded over 11 million times. Later that year, over 16 million times. One of the biggest followings in the world. Like I said, more followers are listening to him than the Tonight Show even has available. So, the world's listening to this guy. I remember they wanted him to moderate one of the presidential debates between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. He eventually had Bernie Sanders. He had on his podcast. I guess Trump wanted to be on his podcast, but he gave him so many rules. You come to the White House, we don't go to you. It only lasts a half hour, not long. And Joe turned to me, he's like, that's not what I do. Okay, we talk for 3 hours. That's the thing of the podcast. We get everything out. We keep going, and we don't have time limits. And that's the cool thing about a podcast. You go until you feel like you're done. There's no. Oh, we're up against the clock here. Let's cut this short, man. That's why they're so popular. Dumbed down rap version. So let's see. Signed the $100 million deal with Spotify, and it was going big. And I've said this before. When you're in comedy, when you hit the top, and Joe Rogan hit the top with this podcast, man. He's on top of the world. He's on top of the comedy world. But when you hit the top, there's only one place to go, and that's down, baby. Okay, because there's no further than the top. And this happened to Joe February 22nd. Spotify removed 113 episodes of his podcast, citing racist and insensitive language, which you pussies nowadays, you can't take a joke. You're offended by everything. My generation, we grew up, we weren't offended by nothing. We knew it was a joke. We took it as a joke. Intent is everything. If you're intending to be offensive, then kiss my ass. You're an offensive son of a bitch. But if you're intending to be a joke, then take the intent as a joke. Intent's everything, okay? But everybody wants to be offended by something nowadays. It's a sad world we're living in. Same thing happened to Ellen DeGeneres. She hit the top of her talk show. Well, when you hit the top of your talk show, they went to take her down. They ended up taking her down, and she lost her talk show. So Joe Rogan, man, like I said, one of the inspirations for Funny Like a Clown podcast. And what he's done, starting in a Boston guy. I mean, a lot of the comics, well, not a lot, but some of the comics I work with, I actually remember working with Joe when he was a local comic runner before he hit it big. And somebody was telling me a joke. Somebody forgot the keys in their car outside of a gig, and Joe actually broke into the car for him to get his keys out and get him back in there. Remember that? So just cool local stories. And even I said that about Dane Cook, where a lot of the stages that I'm hitting and doing shows on, Dane Cook and Joe Rogan, they used to do shows on the same stage that I'm coming up on. So it's kind of cool. I do remember an old the Boston Herald. They used to run old articles about the comics appearing, and there was this. I found this old newspaper opened up, and there's Joe Rogan's picture under this cheap '80s blazer. Had no money, full head of hair. It was like just so funny seeing the guy out of his element like back then. But hey, we all start somewhere, and hats off to Joe, man. He made it work. He's one of the top comics out there now, and $100 million from Spotify, living in Texas, doing everything he ever dreamed of doing. And what else can you do in life but do what you want to do? And when you can do that, you never work a day in your life. You just have fun. Have some fun this week. Do what you love to do. Life can't be all work. You get out some fun. Don't forget, slow down, have some fun. Have some fun with me right here on Funny Like Comedy Podcast. We're exploring the history of comedy. Hope you're having fun, and we'll see you next time. Good night.